I am going to do a comparison between the MacBook Pro M2 Max versus the MacBook Pro M3 Max in Ableton Live using a real finished project that is currently released and streaming on Spotify. Actually my second best track using the 16-inch MacBook Pro. We're also going to check out if you are getting any fan noise when we are producing. We are going to test that later in this video because a lot of you are wondering if these new Macs are noisy when you are producing music. The M2 Max I tested have 8 performance cores. It's actually the same as the M2 Pro. The M3 Max I have here has 12 performance cores. Currently, at least, we mostly care about performance cores. We are looking at 2 projects today. The first one is going to be the track I tested on the M2 Max earlier. The second track is a real project that you can download and try for yourself, and the link will be below this video. I don't have the M2 Max anymore. I just have the upgraded M3 version, so I can't test anything new with it, unfortunately. You're now going to see a snippet of the video I made a while ago on the M2 Max, where I'm going to show off how it works in a heavy-ish Ableton Live project. So make sure you take note of the CPU meter load on the bottom there and on the top right corner in Ableton Live where you can see the audio buffer load. So there are 2 CPU meters. The one on the bottom are the actual system load, the one on the top the audio buffer. So there's a difference between those. So let's turn back the time and check out what I did a few months ago. Yeah, a little crackle there. See a CPU overload over here on the but not actually on the system here. Getting some crackle. I didn't get crackle when I tested this before, but obviously it's because I probably are screen recording this. Yeah, it's just crackling. It worked fine. Let's see if we can turn off some quality. As you can see on that video clip, the M2 Max actually had some issues playing back the project in real time while screen recording it at the same time. It was crackling a bit and it just wasn't able to keep up. Remember that the state of this project is in a release state, so that means most of my plugins on that project is set to high quality, oversampling, except the limiter at the end there. I could also probably use a lot more return tracks on this project. I have been a little lazy and I have thrown a reverb plugin or a delay plugin right on the instrument channel instead of creating return channels. This will also save CPU, of course. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways to reduce the CPU load in Ableton, but if you want to know more about that, you can check this video that pops up here. Anyway, the tracks is using a lot of Diva synthesizers also that are known to be pretty hard on processing, so make sure you check the settings on Diva so we are not running it on Divine when you're producing, for example, so you can reduce it to Great or Draft even. We are going to check out the same project, but now on the M3 Max MacBook Pro, playing around the same section where we heard crackle on the M2 Max, which again, the M2 Max can be compared to the M2 Pro. It's basically the same CPU on the M2, but the M2 Max have a more GPU cores. Okay, let's start and see what happens. So here we have the CPU meter here, and we have 2 actually, and then we have the audio buffer, and I guess we can just start off.
From the beginning of our human history.
Going in. Okay, the crackle you heard there is not related to the actual tester because I switched window, and when I switch window and Ableton Live gets out of focus, it appears that it's not giving Ableton Live all of the resources that you should get. So try to keep Ableton Live in focus when you're producing music. So let's just, good to know. Fun fact. Let's try again. So a lot of Divas, a lot of synthesizers, all of Divas is on multicore here, and on accuracy here we have it, they have them on fast. This one is actually on great. So yeah, as you can clearly see, Ableton Live project was able to play back this project on the M3 Max without any issues. But you see here now, I actually got an issue where it seems like Ableton Live hanged. So it's not 100% stable, apparently. So I don't know what's happening here now. Something is hanging at least. I don't know what it is, but I don't want to cut it out from the video. I just want to show what happens here. Obviously the project worked. If I try to play, nothing happens here. So it seems like Ableton Live just froze up. But yeah, those are things that might happen if you are living on the bleeding edge. So the M3 Max MacBook Pro didn't have any issues playing back this project in real time if you count out the freezing part. Again, this machine has 4 performance cores more than the M2 Max. Again, the M3 CPU is also a generation newer based on another process. So obviously you would expect better performance on a newer generation. You can also compare the M2 Max with the M2 Pro. So the M2 Pro will perform more or less the same. I think the M2 Max is marginally a little bit faster than the M2 Pro, but it's just nothing to talk about really. Yeah, so if you're buying a used Mac you're going to use for music production, you don't really have to go for the M2 Max unless you want the GPU cores for editing or something like that. You can go with the M2 Pro. It's basically the same CPU. I also feel I need to address something I have said in earlier testing videos on this channel about the Diva synthesizer. So we like to use the Diva synthesizer because it's a synth that is heavy on the CPU and it's pretty good to test with, to test system with. And the Diva synthesizer have a button that says multicore, so that means that it's going to use all of the cores in or performance cores of your computer and try to spread the load to multiple cores. I have said in my videos that it doesn't seem like it do anything, at least in those synthetic benchmark tests, but when I turn it off in this project, I can show you, we can clearly see that it is going to have huge problems playing back. So it seems like I have to go back on that statement. So if I turn off multicore, so we can take a look here. Just the first one just doesn't want to go at all. See that? And if I turn on multicore here again, it works just fine. So I think with the latest versions of Diva, I think you should maybe activate multicore, at least try it out and see what happens when you produce yourself. A lot of you are interested in fan noise, or at least not interested in hearing fan noise, and maybe CPU temperature. What you see now is a clip of the M3 Max running my mixing workflow test. And as you can see here, the temperature increases to over 100 degrees Celsius after looping this for quite a while. After a while, the fans start spinning up to cool down the CPU, and you have to check the other video if you want to see or hear how it sounds. But what you need to realize here is that this is an unrealistic test that is designed to push the systems to its limits, so that people can compare it with their own systems. It's not really representative of a real project. And in all of my music production on these machines, or my other Macs as well, I haven't really heard the fan go, even on the M1 Mac. And it would take some really special projects or workflows to experience fan noise. I see a lot of comments from people worrying about fan noise in my comments, but I don't think you should worry so much about that on these machines. And if you have a normal workflow, I think you will probably be fine and you won't hear that much fan noise. But what we can do here now is we can take my project, semi-heavy project here. We can loop the part with that has the most Diva synthesizers. Open the temperature here and let's just loop this for a while I speed up the video and see what happens with the temperature. So we have the temperature temperature of the CPU here on the fans, they are not turned off. They can actually turn completely off on this system if the load is low enough. You can see here it's on 1300 RPM on the left side and 1400 RPM on the right side, and I can't say that I am hearing the fans at all. So now I'm going to loop the part here, and we can speed up the video and see how the temperature and the fans react. So it's still looping. I've been looping this project for a few minutes now, and it seems like the temperature is staying on around 69 degrees, 70 degrees Celsius, and the fans are spinning at low RPM, and I can't really hear the fans from the laptop at all. And when I did this before, when I did not screen record, the fans actually stayed off, so they worked on. Stop this, and you can see that the temperature on the fan goes down a little bit here. It goes down to 66 degrees average. The fans are still on here, but I think that's because I am actually screen recording at the same time. I have a few applications open, and I have the project open 64 degrees, so it will cool down. In the mixing project video, the CPU got really hot. It got over 100 degrees, but that was because I was pushing it really hard, and it still took a while until the fans were running at full speed. So the fan curve on Macs are really slow, so it will take a while until you will hear a fan noise. And as you can see on this project here, I don't hear the fan at all. You can take it for what it is. I have this other project here which you can download yourself from a link down in the description. It's called How to Make Trance number 4, and this project have a few synthesizers. We have Diva here, we have Surge XT, this is a free VST open source, Serum, Vital, Aspire. It's just a little trance how-to. You can play it here, you can see how it works. What we can do is, I have this free synth I'm using here, Vital. This is basically an init preset with some effects. So we can just duplicate that a few times and see how many vitals will this project be able to run. So you can do this yourself in your home or wherever you are. Okay, so I duplicated the Diva or the Vital tracks a few times here. I don't know how many there are, but there are from 26 here to 200, and you hear a little crackle here, but it's basically more. And another thing we can do, I know people want to see real projects, so what we can do is just duplicate the entire project another time. Just take this and we just duplicate everything here. Yes, that worked fine. We can try again. So I think we have to reduce the volume a little bit here. Now we basically have 4 of these projects playing at the same time. Let's try 8. Actually almost able to play 8 versions of this project at the same time. Is it able to play 7 maybe? Yes, it's almost able to play 7 versions of this project. So I guess this kind of shows how big projects you can have here. So I have 175 tracks. And it's like a lot of divas and everything here. So 48 kilohertz, 512 samples. Yeah, you can download this project in the description below if you want to try it yourself. So, should you buy the M3 Max for music production? Well, I can't answer that question. It depends really on how much money you have. Here where I live, the M3 Max is extremely expensive. And if you're thinking about music performance per money, I'm not sure if the M3 Max is a economically smart thing to do. What I could do perhaps is buy an M2 Pro and switch from Ableton Live to Logic instead, because Logic is more optimized on these machines as far as I have seen. But I mean, the question is really difficult to answer. If you want the best possible Mac that have the best possible performance in a laptop format, it's the M3 Max as the recording of this video. We will also going to get the Mac Studio with probably the M3 Ultra, which will more or less, I think, double this performance. So yeah, it's really good for music production. You won't go wrong with this. I hope this at least shows you how the M3 Max works in a real project and not necessarily a kind of a benchmark type of deal. Thank you for watching my videos. Take care, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.